I'm getting ready to take the steering column out to see if I can get to the bottom of this problem here. I think something might be missing in there or completely wore out. I'm going to take them couple nuts off at the rag joint. Those were exposed by taking this cover off, which is held on by a bolt. So I got to slide back a little bit, and you can see the bolts holding it in the firewall, and there's a couple going up into the dash. This is going to be a complete pain. First piece is held on with some plastic fasteners. This duct's held on with one screw in the bottom. Then it looks like there's 4 screws holding a plate down beneath the column. That piece is off. I think I'm going to have to take that plate on the bottom off to expose one or more of the screws holding the column to the firewall. Get all those out before I take these 2 fatties out, holding it up on the dash. This here may be the neutral safety switch that's been disabled because that rod is missing on the linkage of the column. If I can fit that rod in there with the headers, I'm going to add it back in. That rod moves this whole piece of the column right here. I think those holes for that plate that holds the carpet down are hogged out. So when it gets on the rotisserie, that'll be addressed. I've unplugged this electrical connector here. Got those 3 out. I'm going to go after these 2 fatties here, see if she drops down. She dropped down. A couple more connectors on there. Close up of the connectors as they sit without the one. This is the ignition switch. I got to unplug those 3. So I got the column out like that.
Just to work on this thing and make it easy, we're going to take this off and separate it. So if you got new foam, it would make it look like a new restoration. Sorry. It would make it look like a new restoration.
Well, it'd probably seal better too and keep all the exhaust gases out of the cabin.
There's not going to be any exhaust gases because this thing's tight.
There's a notch in it like
That's what I told you. Was
like a motorcycle shifter.
It would never come out as you're pulling, even if you loosen it up, because it catches on it.
There's a huge gap on each side of it. Yeah, pop it out. Let's see if we can get that out. What is that clip even holding?
Well, I think this is what's supposed to hold the bearing. Some kind of plastic collar in here or something.
What's this? Is this a broken piece?
Oh, yeah. But we don't like this. This will make noise and rattle around. You didn't notice it when you were steering, but I bet you it'll feel better once we replace this.
Yeah, we're looking in here and you can see that that piece is broken there. Let's see if we can jimmy it out. Want a screwdriver or something?
Yeah. So how are you going to find this part?
Well, hopefully Ames has it. I imagine they do. Luckily they have this stuff. We'll see if we can get it to fit back together. Looks like this clip keeps the bearing retainer from going back too far or maybe from going too forward. And the bearing actually snaps into it. You can see it's broke there.
And it matches with these. So it's got to be all together.
We're just going to get the whole kit, pop it together, paint some stuff up.
What's happening is you got a steering box down there and your whole car flexes over, especially when they show the movies where the guy goes airborne, like Smokey and the Bandit. That car was totaled. But as you're hitting bumps, and if you had this solid, it would be driving that steering sector and ball, you know, you'd be wrecking your gear. So they make this so this can move with flexing and, you know, because it's a unitized body with rubber bushings. All kinds of stuff is moving around. And you got to have something for, you know, moving around. Like this one right here, it's impregnated with plastic. That's the one that if you got in an accident and your chest hits the steering column, they want something to give so you don't get your chest busted up. Well, it's just like a U-joint. You know, they blow some plastic in here. Yeah, but it doesn't move right now. I could break it free. Some guys will weld stuff like that and never do that. You should always have movement for expansion and contraction.
The parts listing like 135 bucks in the book. We'll pop a new rag joint in it when we reassemble it. Here's a look at that opening for the column.
We were talking about this ignition steering lockout, holds it in park. And we're thinking maybe because of the headers were involved, there was interference and they just eliminated it. But it's a good thing to have, you know, anti-theft setup. Here's this neutral safety switch and reverse lights. Right here is your ignition hookup. See all the wires?
Move the key once. You can see the rod. Here's the neutral safety switch. So your starter won't work unless it's in park or neutral. And I believe this also controls the reverse lights. But you can see behind there contacts and things happening.
A lot of this stuff, it wears out with a lot of years, and sometimes they just drop. And you gotta fix stuff. A lot of people don't want to go through the effort of taking this all apart. And there's little devices in here that you can get new or weld up and take up some of the slop. You can fix them. But that's really nice when a lot of times you're gonna be running around in autocross or whatever, and it's nice to get this, you know, you don't want to be driving like this. When you're sitting up straight and you're over the top of the steering wheel, you can just go like this. It's nice to get it down here. A lot of times when you're driving, you put the steering wheel down, you can't see your speedometer. Right now, I'm just digging away at all this gasket material because we're going to put a new gasket on here. A lot of times when you rip cars apart, and some guys will paint their cars beautifully, and they don't change out weather strip and stuff like that. You're driving down the road, and also there's a whistling noise or air blown in somewhere.
I'm wondering if this plate is bent. Boy, it almost looks like it, doesn't it?
Let me get this up. Oh yeah. Yeah, we can straighten that out.
Was it riveted there or something?
No, it tore away from the shaft. We're gonna have to lay this down.
Just order a new one.
What, all steering column?
$449. It wasn't like
You're not gonna spend that much.
We're looking at the firewall and it's perfectly straight. You know, it's quite possible that this column is actually out of a different car. If you straighten the plate as best we're going to get it. In the process, the welds broke, but you can
See right where they go.
yeah, you can line it up. You can even see the angle. Let's do a little cleanup here, try to get it welded back in place. So that plate is welded back on and painted. And the new kit's in for repairing the lower bearing. I probably could have got away with just buying this one piece here. There's a rounded indent there. I'm going to see if I can get this bearing to snap in there. Hopefully I don't break it. Didn't look like this original bearing was greased. I'll probably have to get this piece in the center over here. Might take a little finagling. That's all the farther it's going to go in. We have a collar piece here. See if I can get the snap ring on. A little bit of slop in there. This original guy has like 0 slop. We're going to pop a new steering coupler in it while it's all apart. Looks like we have a pretty good reproduction here. I have a new gasket for this plate. I had to get this off eBay. I didn't see it in the Ames catalog. See if we can't slip this on here. I was originally thinking about using an adhesive, but I think the screws will hold it in just fine. New gasket really looks nice in there. The design of this plate welded onto the column like that, if you were to take these two nuts off and drop the column down, it would bend the heck out of that plate. I'm thinking that's probably what happened to it. Got the rag joint all cranked down. And the cover that goes over it's cleaned up as good as I'm going to get it. There it is landed. And a final look here. A heck of a lot more rigid than it was. A little bit of play in that bearing retainer, but that's what they gave me and that's what we're going to run.